Good morning and welcome to the Veterans Forum. Today is the 20th of February 2014. This program is coming to you through the studios at Bedford Community Television here in Bedford, New Hampshire. It's being put on by volunteer staff, most of us are all volunteers, in cooperation with the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project, wherein they are asking any and all veterans, male and female, who served in any war from World War II, Nam, Korea, Desert Storm, Shale, you name it, if they can and will come and share that experience with us on a televised interview. It'll then be recorded at the Library of Congress's database, and it'll be available to anybody from here on out. All we ask is that you let us know, give us a call, the address will be on the back, and we'll do all we can to make this important. The bottom line simply is this, guys. If you don't tell your story, nobody else will. And whatever you did, however you did it, will be lost forever. And this is a good chance. Plus, the best thing I think for us older guys, it answers the grandkids' question. Hey, Grandpa, what did you do in the war? Well, when you find out where back, what war was all about, then you can tell them and bring them up to date. But the best part about it is a legacy. It'll probably be one of the best things you could leave your family because it'll make them able to stay with you, even though you may not be here to be with them. Today is another story, a young fellow who did his thing way back when. I'll introduce John and then have him give you his name and address. But before the show, this I think is most important. I just came by this about a week ago. To all you veterans, guys and gals who in any way feel you need help, want help, or your friends and family want to help you, this is the number. It's the universal number here now, established 211, not 911, but 211, and it'll put you in contact with counselors in all of these various aspects that can possibly give you the help you need. If you need it, don't be afraid to ask. It takes guts to ask sometimes, but the rewards for you and everybody else will be well worth it. Okay? John, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, spell your last name, branch of service, where you live right now, and dates of service, and then we'll take it from there. If you will, please.
Bob, good morning. Thank you very much.
Well, you still got a good grip.
Great to be here. Thank you so very much for inviting me on. Semper Fi.
Yeah. Hoorah.
It's good to be here. John Cebrowski, C-E-B-R-O-W-S-K-I. Currently living in Bedford, New Hampshire. My wife Amanda and I have been here for 10 years. We absolutely love it. It's a beautiful community.
Going to make it permanent.
Absolutely.
Good.
I'm originally from Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, and grew up there and graduated from high school there, and then went on to college, first at the Rochester Institute of Technology.
You're rushing. You're way ahead of me, if you will. But back up. What was your branch of service?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
come on,
interrupt me. The United States Marine Corps. United States Marine Corps. It was an incredible and very, very positive experience, Bob.
From when to when?
I went to OCS, and I'll never forget the day, September 17th, 1962.
Okay.
And then was on active duty for 5 years, and then flew in the reserves.
All right.
For a couple of years after that. And I believe it was sometime toward the end of 69 or early 70 that work and family responsibilities finally caused me to separate from the reserves.
Okay.
But it was a
great you had to make it.
Great
now,
experience.
Let's try building a little history. John we have a computer program here trying to work it together. I'd like to call up the picture that they have of you when you got your first uniform of you, how you looked way back when.
Well, the picture that's on the screen now, Bob, is a picture of me in my dress blues, and I believe it was taken sometimes during the course of when I was in flight school.
Okay.
In 1963 or early 64. After OCS, which is about 12 or 13 weeks, I was commissioned in December of 62, and then went to flight school in Pensacola, Florida, in January of 63.
Whoa. We were way ahead of us. Okay.
Am I?
No, I'm trying to not interrupt you. But
okay, no, that's all right.
What I'd like to do, we know what you are, where you are now.
Yes.
But I'd like to go back and build a history. For example,
sure.
Where were you born and when, and how was your life growing up before you went in the service, high school, that kind of stuff? And if, for example, you have any of your family that are in the service in any manner, give us a little history of them so we can see what made your life.
Okay. As I said, from Hasbrouck Heights, New Jersey, grew up there. One of the things that was a great influence on me was, and I was born in '39, so I do remember the last year or two of World War II. And I had several uncles who served in the Army and the Navy in World War II. And they were a big influence on myself and on my brother. Because when they came back in '45, I can remember sitting on their front porches and hearing them recount stories of, you know, North Africa, you know, landing at Anzio, going up to the Italian peninsula. One of them actually seeing Mussolini hung by his heels. Ooh. Another uncle served with Patton and, you know, and crossed Germany. Another served on an aircraft carrier in the Pacific. So they had a great influence on me and on my brother. And of course, in grammar school in those days, Bob, as you may remember, this is in the late '40s and early '50s, there was a tremendous feeling of patriotism at school. In the monthly programs, we were always singing, you know, America the Beautiful, the Star-Spangled Banner. There was a very, very proud display of flags. When I was in the 8th grade, I was honored to be one of the 4 boys who was in the honor guard to bring in one of the American flags for every
that must have been a big
assembly.
deal.
It was, and it was a great, great feeling of pride. So I grew up in this environment of strong feeling for the country, a very, very strong feeling for the country. And I can remember in high school, and walking home was about a 3/4 of a mile walk from high school back and forth to home. We'd walk by the post office. And out in front of the post office, and I don't know what year I was in high school, maybe a sophomore or junior or what, there was this big billboard, I guess you would call it. You probably remember these. And there was a picture of several Marines in their F-9s, F-9 fighters at the time, a picture of them on the flight line. And it caught my attention. It caught my attention. And never thought much about it, but you know how you see something and it kind of embeds itself in your mind?
It comes right quick.
There you go. And of course, the town that I grew up in, Hasbrouck Heights, is immediately adjacent to an airport, to Teterboro Airport in New Jersey, which is a big business airport today. And my buddies and I would hang out down there a lot, and hang out in the hangars and talk to the people who were all private, you know, airplane owners. And several of them, you know, offered rides to myself and my friends. Of course, that would be maybe a little difficult or
you ever get
uncomfortable to do today.
Godfrey? He had his C3 down there.
He did. He's from Hasbrouck Heights. But we took several rides. So this thing about aviation kind of, you know, worked itself into my blood. And then I went off to college, and after 3 years of electrical engineering study at Rochester Institute of Technology, I transferred to the Rhode Island School of Design, where I majored in industrial design, and from where I've got my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. Well, I knew that after 4 or 5 years of college, of course, the draft, you know, was going on.
Right on your tail.
Oh my gosh, I had a 2S deferment. Oh, I didn't want to be drafted. I did not want to be drafted. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And I'd always had an interest in aviation, but I'd always had an interest in submarines. I had read everything there was on submarines when I was in grammar school and high school. So for one reason or another, I walked down to the naval shipyard there in Cranston, Rhode Island, just south of Providence, one weekend. And there was a diesel boat, an old World War II diesel boat there, submarine. And somehow I talked my way onto it to get a tour. I was just by myself.
Just happened to have a glib tongue.
I did, and got a tour, and it was too small for me. Yeah. I was hitting my elbows and my knees and my shins everywhere, and I said, you know, I'm a little over 6'3". I said, no, this is not for me.
A constant aspirin.
So that eliminated the Submariner option. And that eliminated the Submariner option. But my next to last year at the Rhode Island School of Design, I remember walking out of the college building one day, and there was a Marine recruiter in a dress blues in the library. Caught a glimpse of him out of my right eye, and that was it. And I just kept walking. This is my junior year.
Did they have ROTC back in those days?
No, we did not. Oh, yes, they did, but we didn't have ROTC at the School of Design. But then my senior year, the same thing happened. You know, sometimes the Lord leads you in certain directions, and I think this was one of those things. I walked out of, and this is a year later, I walked out of the college building past the library again, and son of a gun, wouldn't you know it, there's a Marine recruiter in there in dress blues. This time, because I'm a senior, I did a right turn, walked in, and told him, I said, sign me up. And I want to become a Marine aviator. And he said, all right, young man, we can do that.
It can be done.
It can be done. So they signed me up and did all the paperwork. And then a week or two later, I had to go take a big exam for officer candidate school. Did it up at Brown University, which abuts the School of Design. I did that, and I had to take some other special tests associated with you know, the potential of being an aviator. And I flew through all those tests without much of a problem. And then it was, I think, a month or two later, I got orders to officer candidate school. So now this is what, January, February of 1962. And now I know what my immediate future looks like. I had a tremendous feeling of confidence and of comfort of what I'd be doing for the next few years. And I was really looking forward to it. Poured all my energy into my last year at school, I think because of that confidence that I had. And then that summer, the summer of '62, for the first time in probably 7 or 8 years, I did not pursue a summer job. I'd always done something in the summertime to earn some money.
Bucks.
Yes, absolutely. But this summer I did not, and I spent the whole summer working out. I knew that once I got to OCS, man, they're going to work my butt off. They're going to run my butt off, you know. And I had been a track guy in high school. That had been my sport in high school, all 4 years. You know, I was a runner, and also the field events, half mile.
Letterman?
Two of my, what's that?
A letterman?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and so mile, half mile, shot put, discus, high jump. I had always dreams of being a decathlete. Bob Mathias was my athletic
Get your name
hero
on the Wheatie box top.
in those days. And for those who don't remember Bob Mathias, he won the gold medal at the 48 and the 52 games in the decathlon. And one of the things I learned when I got to OCS is that at the obstacle course there, Bob had also been a Marine officer, and he held, even at that date, he still held the course record time-wise for the obstacle course at Quantico. So this is what, a dozen years later.
Yeah, it's still standing.
It was still standing in '62, and I don't know where it is today. But that was one tough experience. We started with 50 guys in my platoon, all aviation officer candidates, and it was a challenging experience, you know, physically primarily. The academic stuff I handled pretty well.
Good.
But I was so happy that I had worked out all summer. I mean, I was running, I was doing pull-ups, I was doing push-ups, I was, you know, really getting myself in shape. And it paid off, because in that 12 or 13 weeks at OCS, we washed out, not we, they washed out a little bit over a third of the platoon. Yeah. If you dropped out, Bob, if you dropped out of a run,
pack your bag.
That night, they came in and they took you out of the squad bay. And we didn't know that at the beginning. But I remember my second week there, I think, waking up one morning and looking around at some of my friends and saying, "There's a bunk over there. It's empty."
You're right.
What happened? No one said anything. A week later, there's a couple more bunks empty. A week later, a few more bunks empty. And before you know it, there's about 17, 18 guys that are gone. Gone. Where did they go? You know, if you dropped out of anything, that was it. You were done.
They didn't have the time to waste.
No. So when you finished, therefore, you felt pretty good that you had accomplished something.
The one thing you made a comment,
Yep.
I think it's imperative that a lot of people understand it. When you enlisted and you had a desire, they would try to, your provisioning guys would try to make sure that you got a crack at what you wanted, as opposed to being saying, okay, you're going to go here, you're going to go there.
Right.
And once you get on that track, things will fall into place, because if you study it good enough and well enough, you know that from here to there is going to take this and then that, and you can plan for it and work for it, as you did getting your body in shape. The mind's ready to go, you marry them together, and you have an edge up. People will wonder, well, how come you got that assignment on that base? I wanted for it and trained for it.
I was ready to go. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I didn't want to be drafted. Frankly, I was afraid of being drafted, and it's why I volunteered. I wanted to chart my own path.
Yeah, exactly right.
I've got to tell you another story here that's rather important that relates to OCS. The most important thing that happened to me at OCS occurred on October 20th of 1962, because that's the date I met my wife.
Oh, okay.
Now it's a little bit too long of a story to tell, but Amanda was a senior at the Mary Washington College that year, and after a week or two at OCS in Quantico, we learned that there was a girls' school about 16 miles to the south of Quantico. So when we had our first time off, and it happened to be on October 20th, myself and three of my friends went on what you might call a foray down to Fredericksburg, down to Mary Washington College, and lo and behold, it was love at first sight.
Really?
It really was.
Both ways?
I think yes.
That's the best part.
Yes. And in a couple of months, we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary. How's that?
Not too bad for kids. It's a wonderful story.
Yeah, so that was a real highlight of OCS. And then from there on to flight school, and I'll...
let me stop for a second.
Sure.
Everybody gets asked this question. I just wanted your reaction. What was your experiences on the transition from civilian into the service, your boot camp time, if you will? How did you react to that?
I don't know. Just reacted to it. There was no
nothing spectacular.
Nothing
good
spectacular about it. You know, I knew that it would be a totally different culture and totally different environment. You know, I expected a lot of rigor. I expected a lot of discipline. I expected a lot of demands. It's one of the reasons I picked the Marine Corps. I wanted, if I was going to do this, I wanted to join that branch, which I felt was the most rigorous, the most demanding.
Amen. Where
there would be the most positive return on my investment.
Good.
And of course, the Marine Corps, as you know, has got a tremendous tradition in the American military. And then within the Marine Corps, I wanted to do what I perceived as the most challenging, have the most challenging job.
And you got your wish.
And I was a very lucky man, very lucky man.
When did you start flight training?
Started flight training the following January of '63. Flight training varies anywhere between 15 and 18 months. In that time, variance is caused primarily by weather conditions.
Where were you stationed at the time?
Pensacola for basic flight training. I did pretty well then, and had good flight grades. So in October of that year, I had originally gone in wanting to fly helicopters, and don't ask me why. I just had this great desire to fly helicopters, but I did well in flight training, and the CEO of the training squadron asked myself and a couple of other fellows to come in one day, and they asked if we would go down the jet pipeline instead. So we were thrilled to be picked to do that. So in October of what year is this now? '63. Went to Kingsville, Texas, and Naval Air Station in Kingsville, which was basic and advanced jet training, where I flew the F-9 and the F-11, and all that training. You're doing everything. It's basic flight training. It's formation. It's night flying. It's instrument flying. It's weapons training. It's carrier qualifications and everything.
Can you explain the carrier qualification? I've asked a couple of guys. you actually have a marked out spot on the runway where this is the length and width of a carrier deck, and you touch and goes and taking off and so forth. How do you handle that? Dumb question for a guy who can't fly, but
well, okay, it's kind of a complicated thing to try and answer. But no, there's nothing marked out on the runway. But you do practice an awful lot at the field, and they're called FMLPs, Field Mirror Landing Practice. There's a special mirror and lens, Fresnel lens and mirror system that is used on aircraft carriers to help a pilot, fly the right.
Okay, this isn't classified stuff.
Oh no.
Okay,
Fly.
I don't want to be shot.
Fly the right path down to the carrier deck, and you practice this, dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and learn how to use that optical landing system to come aboard ship. So.
Now, is that heads up? Is in the cockpit? Or are you going up?
No. It's heads up. This landing system is on the aft of the aircraft carrier,
Okay.
the port side, and port for. I know you're a Navy man, Bob. Is the left?
That's the side where I don't wear a wristwatch.
Side, yes. So the landing system's on the port side at the aft of the carrier, and it's because of the special parabolic shape of the mirror. It reflects a pie-shaped beam of light, a very intense beam of light, up and out, from the aft of the carrier. And it's the pilot's responsibility to intercept that beam of light. And you will know if you are in the center of that beam, if what's called the meatball, and it's about this size.
Question. Yeah, you got the ball.
Meatball, you're on the ball.
Yeah.
The meatball, it's about this big. It's about the size of 2 basketballs. Very, very bright yellow, and it shows on the mirror, and it moves up and down. If you are high in that beam of light, the meatball is high. If you are low, it's low. And you'll know it's high or low because on either side of the mirror are 2 long sets of what are called datum lights, which are bright green. And the idea is to keep that yellow meatball lined right up in the middle of all those green datum lights.
There's a lot of work going at the same instantaneous.
Yes, yes. I've got a picture I'm going to bring up right now.
Do it.
Of after I went to my first squadron to VMA 324 at Marine Corps Air Station, Beaufort, South Carolina, and I'll call that up right now. And it's a picture of myself in an A4E Skyhawk launching off of the USS Lexington in the Gulf of Mexico. The squadron. This was the first time that I had landed on aircraft carriers several times during flight training. But this was the first time in an operational squadron. The entire squadron went to Pensacola. I think it was sometime in the summer of 1964, and the entire squadron went out there and qualified. So the photo on the screen shows me on a catapult shot on the Lexington, and the catapult shot is probably the most exciting amusement park ride in the world, because you're going from a standstill to about 180, 190 miles an hour in a matter of about 200 feet. So it's a real shot.
Now, at the time, then you were in control, but now they say you have hands-off launch.
Well, it's hands-off then.
Oh, okay, bring that.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is be holding the stick on a cat shot, because the transverse G's are so intense. You've got your head back against your headrail. Transverse G's are so intense. I mean, you could easily over-control the aircraft. So you don't want to touch the stick.
Okay, thank you.
The plane flies itself off as you clear the bow. Only when you clear the bow that the stick will slap back into your hand, but you don't want to move it. Then you can take control, and then you're off.
Okay, off and away.
And then you're off and away. But it's an exciting ride.
Okay.
It's an exciting ride. So, especially at night. Especially.
Now, do you have any
night.
bad weather? I know you can't keep waiting for a taxi.
I've landed in the rain at night, and catch up at night. And,
I know you're used to it, but it's still.
Yeah,
take a deep breath.
You're focused. You're very, very focused, and you're comfortable in what you can do. You're very comfortable with the aircraft. You know what to do. So
feel that hook go.
Oh, on the landing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
the sigh of relief.
Let me tell you, that's a real sigh of relief.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Go ahead.
no. So, yeah, carrier operations are pretty exciting. I'd like to bring up another photo if I can, and this is what went the wrong way there. And this photo up here now is taken, I think it was in October of 1965. I had been in the squadron VMA 324 in Beaufort for now almost 2 years, and a request came into the squadron CO to have one of the pilots participate or help participate in a Navy Bureau of Weapons training film. There was a new weapon being introduced at that time called the bullpup missile, which was a pilot-guided missile. It's obviously obsolete today. But they needed somebody whose carrier qualifications were current, and mine happened to be. And so the colonel said to me, John, why don't you take plane captain, hydraulics man, a couple of other folks, and head down to Cecil Field in Jacksonville, Florida, then fly out to the USS Saratoga, which was about 100 miles off the coast of Florida, where the movie was being made. So did that, went down there, and Bob, we had the whole carrier to ourselves for about a day or two.
Really?
While this
VIP treatment?
VIP treatment. And so the photo on the screen right now is a picture of myself, getting ready to climb into the aircraft, and one of the plane captains who was with me from that mission. So I did several takeoffs and several landings with the bullpup missiles attached, and that's all they were interested in. They just wanted footage,
clearance and weight and all that.
Yeah, footage of cat shots and of landings, and then I flew back to Cecil Field and then back to Beaufort, South Carolina, and that was it. But that was a great experience.
That was stateside, huh?
Yes, it was. Yep. Yes, it was. Yep.
Where next?
Well, only a month after that, I got orders to Vietnam, and that was a little bit of a tough time. Vietnam had already been underway for a little while, and there was some sense with everyone in the squadron that we're highly likely to go overseas.
How many ships are there in a squadron?
How many aircraft?
How many aircraft in a squadron?
It depends on the type of aircraft, Bob, whether it's attack or fighters and so on. In the Marine Corps squadrons typically are a little bit bigger aircraft-wise than Navy squadrons. I think we had about 20 or 22 aircraft in the squadron, and maybe about 26 to 28 pilots, something like that. Yeah, that's how big a squadron is.
All gung-ho.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Great bunch of guys. I mean, it's like a fraternity. It's like a super fraternity. I was in a fraternity in college, and the culture is pretty much the same. If I know some of the viewers out there have seen the movie Top Gun, that obviously has a lot of Hollywood fluff in it, but there's a lot of realism in there as well.
Yeah, sighted girl got same.
So it's an exciting time.
When you landed, how did you get into Nam? Did you fly over, or did you?
No, I flew over. My original orders were as a forward air controller, and a forward air controller in the Marine Corps is an aviator who is attached to a Marine battalion on the ground. The Marine Corps is unique in this regard. They like to have aviators be attached to the ground forces because we have a really thorough understanding of the capability of all the aircraft that are intended to support Marine companies, battalions, and regiments.
Plus, you got a good view of the land. You know what's going on.
Yes, and we, so I'm in talking to a pilot and identifying targets and so on. I mean, I'm on the same page. I mean, I can, same vocabulary and everything, so it's easy to talk. That was a very, very tough experience. I was not only forward air controller, because there's 2 forward air controllers in every Marine battalion, and then also an air liaison officer. So 3 aviators in each battalion. And after being an FAC for about 4 months, I was promoted to Air Liaison Officer for 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines. And I spent about 6 to 7 months with the battalion and made about a dozen major operations with the major ground operations. Saw a lot of heavy action, a lot of ugly stuff. A lot of firefights, a lot of search and destroy missions, you know, a lot of nasty...
Any search and rescue?
Nasty things.
Like dust-off pickups?
No, remember I'm on the ground now.
Oh, okay.
You remember I'm with the battalion. I'm on there.
I thought you were upstairs.
Oh no, I'm on the ground there.
Okay.
So a lot of heavy stuff, and of course I can go on and on with things like that. But I guess if you have time, there's one brief story I could recount and show you a picture.
13 and a half minutes.
The worst day of my life was March 4th, 1966. It was Operation Utah. And we had a reinforced battalion out there, 2-7, with some good intelligence to find a heavily armed Vietnam force, reinforced with North Vietnamese regulars. And we didn't find them, they found us, which is not too good. And we got hit real bad.
A lot of SAMs?
No, remember I'm on the ground now.
I know, but one of the shooting...
No. And so we got hit real bad, and so we lost about 1/3 of the battalion, killed or wounded. But we totally decimated the Viet Cong force. And one of the things I was able to do during that time was evacuate a lot of badly wounded Marines, a lot. And I was calling helicopters into a hot zone. In other words, we were getting fire into this. But these guys, I mean, the casualties were just terrible. I had to get these guys out, and got them out. And so for that, a couple of months later, you know, I was notified that I'd been awarded the Bronze Star for that action. And the picture on the screen right now is a picture of Major General Fields presenting me with the Bronze Star. Sometimes.
Hoorah.
Sometimes later. So that was a tough time, but it taught me, and it gave me great respect for the ground side of the Marine Corps. Gave me great respect, you know, for those fellas on the ground.
How about the medics?
Oh, the Navy corpsmen who were with us were absolutely superb. I hold the Navy corpsmen to this day in the highest regard, because they're always out front. So I was with the battalion for about 7 months, and then had orders to a Marine squadron, an A4E squadron at Chu Lai. And I flew 80 missions with them over the north and the south, close air support primarily, interdiction, and 20 missions north into North Vietnam over the DMZ. So that was a whole different culture, of course, when you're away from the direct ground fire. But got shot at a lot.
You got to keep your eyes open.
Got shot at a lot there. I came back. I remember one mission coming back from where we were out supporting a company, a Marine company that had, you know, run into a major Viet Cong force, and we pretty much took care of them from the air. But I knew I was taking a lot of small arms fire, because when you fire into it, you can see the muzzle flashes.
When they got you in the
If you can visualize what a 4th of July sparkler looks like, well, if you can see a sparkler, that means
they're coming.
The rounds are coming at you. I remember coming back from one mission, and I post-flighted the plane, and I looked underneath the starboard wing of the aircraft, and oh my gosh, the metal was torn up and torn back, and I didn't know it at the time. You know, the plane was still very, very flyable. I couldn't tell from the way it handled it. It was that had been hurt. Fortunately, you know.
Did it have any branches of trees stuck in your undercarriage?
No, came close to that.
I know.
But I won't go there.
Okay, amen.
But I'll show you one more.
All right.
I think I've got a couple of more photos here. Again, this is when I was with the squadron there at Chu Lai, when I was promoted to captain in the fall of 66, the CO, you know, presenting me with my
is that just a time and grade or a field promotion?
Time and grade.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you know, a time and grade. And one other major thing happened to me there. I know you're short on time. I'd like to bring up another picture, and this is a picture of myself and my A4 at QB Point Naval Air Station in the Philippines, taken towards the end of 66. We were beginning to fly missions over the north, and the aircraft had to have missile detection equipment installed. So the CO asked me one day to lead a flight of 3 over to QB Point to have this stuff retrofitted in. So that's where this picture was taken. The highlight of that visit was, and this is another heaven-sent memory. My younger brother at the time, was flying F-4s off the USS Constellation in the Gulf of Tonkin, and the Constellation happened to be in Subic Bay when I got there for this refurbishment.
You had a chance to meet him?
Absolutely. What a reunion that was. Half a world away. I hadn't seen my brother in over a year. We went out that night and had a monster steak dinner, threw down a couple of bottles of red wine at the Officers Club in Subic Bay. It was great. The next morning I woke up to fly back to Vietnam. I looked out my window down into Subic Bay. The carrier was gone. It had left during the night back for Yankee Station in the Gulf of Tonkin. The timing was absolutely impeccable. So
that's one of the perks of doing good work.
Yeah, I think so.
Somewhere up there, Yahweh saying, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Give you a good one.
No, I came. The whole thing was a very, very positive experience. And if I can just close with one brief story, do we have time?
20 minutes. With all kinds of time.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you get out on time for your next appointment.
My experience over there was, I'd characterize as very, very positive. A lot of ugly, terrible stuff. But you feel good that you're helping your country, and more than anything, that you're supporting and helping and working with your fellow Marines. That sense of teamwork, that sense of camaraderie, the esprit de corps, is impossible, I believe, to put into words. You really have to experience it. And I know you're a Seabee, and I have great respect for the Seabees, because that's also another unit with that very, very high level of camaraderie and esprit de corps.
Humbly, I apologize. So thank you for your good intentions.
Well, I know they do.
They work together.
We do. So that was quite. I came back.
Any particular flights that really stand out, that are either real good, real bad, or funny? To give people an idea what life was like, rather than all the headlines you keep.
Okay, one flight that really stands out. It was there were several, but one that really stands out was we stood the hot pad once every 3 or 4 days, and we rotated that duty around the squadron. When you stood the hot pad, you were down on the.
You're always on alert.
Down on the flight plan, you're all dressed in G-suit, torso harness, planes are loaded, ready to go, starters detached, and you're just sitting in the hut there. Playing AC-doocy, with the field telephone, waiting for it to ring, and there's two sets of pilots, and you're waiting for it to ring. And when that phone rings, the lead is out the door, and into the aircraft. Number 2 man is writing down the name of the forward air controller and the frequency to contact once we get airborne, and you're in and you're out. And you have total priority over anything and everybody on the field. And you're screeching around the taxiways as fast as you can go, and 100%, as soon as you turn onto the active duty, full throttle. I back off maybe 1%, so number 2 can catch up to me, on the way out. He's giving me the frequency on the radio. We dial in the frequency. We're talking to the forward air controller. He's telling us where they are, what their problem is. And in this particular case, there was a Marine company that had been ambushed by a much bigger Viet Cong force, and was really getting hit hard. And myself and my wingman were both carrying a full load, 250-pound snake eye bombs, 12 of them, napalm, 8 5-inch Zuni rockets, plus 20 millimeter cannon loaded, max load, each of us max load. And so in run after run, we come in there with the bombs and then the napalm, and pretty much took care of that VC force. And the forward air controller on the ground told us that the Marines had regained the upper hand in the situation, but that the remnants were breaking for the river. There was a nearby river, not too wide, and so could we pursue them? So I immediately switched to guns, adjusted my gun sight to guns, and rolled around. And sure enough, I roll down, it looks down this narrow river, and there's these 3 big sampans. 3 big sampans. I would imagine they're probably 60, 70 feet long, all lined up together on the edge of the river.
They helping the guys.
Oh yeah, and so the VC were running for looking for that. That was going to be their escape route, I guess, you know, and try to escape on the water.
Bastards.
Man, I'll tell you, I put the pipper just below the water line on the you know, on that first sampan, and I, with my feet on the rudder pedals, you know, left and right, squeezed that trigger down, and I let every round I had out of there, everything. And you want to see the, you know, the smoke, the debris, the fire, and everything go. And I knew where the rounds were going, because every 4th round is a tracer.
Mm-hmm.
One is a tracer, one is a general purpose round, one is an incendiary round, and one is an armor piercing round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're coming out, brrr. I mean, it sounds like a deep, long burp. Well, you know, a few thousand rounds.
You being pushed
No,
back?
not from 20 minutes. And so I knew exactly where the rounds were going.
Okay.
And I walked them across all 3 sampans. And number 2 came up on the radio, swearing at me.
Yeah, say some for me.
Yes, that's exactly what his point was.
Yeah.
Because there was just this massive cloud of debris and black and brown smoke and everything. But he unloaded everything too.
Oh yeah.
There was nothing left. There was just flotsam, you know, floating in the river when we were done. And that was probably the most gratifying mission that I was on.
Now, while you guys are doing that, anybody Hueys up above you?
No, don't need anyone else.
Okay.
No, we're just out there doing it. If we needed any more help, or if the situation was such that, you know, we ran out of weaponry or ammunition, very easy for me to call back and say, launch the next launch the next 2.
Next flight.
Absolutely. Oh, and that happens. That's a good question. And that happens that happened on several occasions.
Yeah, because you can't have just so much ammunition once it's gone. And you're not too good there.
No. I had another good one if you've got time. I've got another.
Absolutely.
I've got another,
I'm eating this stuff up.
Another good
and they
story.
will too.
The first one of the missions north over the DMZ, and these were a little more dangerous because you had to worry about the missiles coming in. There was a major gas and oil kind of supply depot that the North Vietnamese had up there, and we had pretty good intelligence about where it was, kind of hidden by jungle pretty well. But after a good intelligence briefing, we felt we could knock it out. Myself and my wingman, we each had 2 1,000-pound bombs, and when you cross the DMZ, the throttle goes to 100%. When you're over North Vietnam, you're in and out quick. You're at 100% power. So I knew pretty much we had good intelligence on where the target was. I rolled in, and he let both of them go, you know, the first time, and both of the 1,000-pounders came off, and then I peeled off to the left, and the same thing happened. Wingmen came up swearing at me. You know, I mean, there was a monstrous fireball and black smoke. When you saw black smoke, you knew you had hit oil or gas or something. It was brown smoke. It was dirt and trees, but it was black, monstrous black mushroom cloud, orange fireball. We nailed it. And then he came in and did the same thing, and it just got worse. And so just one run apiece. You know, we both, you know, bullseyed the target, and then 100% back across the TMZ. You know, looking left and right, and making sure no missiles. Come on, baby, come on, you know, and pointing downhill a little bit and screaming back home. So. It's incredible stuff. So there were many more, but those are two.
Excuse me, I weep sometimes.
No, those are two of the big ones.
So, when you were through there and you deployed, came back home, how was your reception? I've heard all kinds of stories, good and bad, about how the guys were received, and I don't like the stories.
Reception was excellent. I came back home in January of 1967. I think I left Vietnam on the 17th of January, 1967. Charter plane, a Pan Am or Continental or somebody like that, totally loaded with Marines, all Marines. 4 pilots, 4 of us officers on it, and all the rest enlisted. and flew out of Da Nang. We refueled in Guam, and then we're supposed to head straight to Traverse Air Force Base in California to land. But as we approached the California coast, the weather at Traverse was very bad, all fogged in, so the pilot turned south and flew along the California coast to LAX. This is during the middle of the night. And we could see the lights. We could see the lights of California. You want to feel the euphoria on that plane, Bob.
Oh.
You want to hear the cheering. Oh, to this day, it's a wonder the plane didn't tilt too much to the left, because everyone left their seats on the right side, looking out the windows on the left side. And to see the United States after more than a year, it is one heck of a feeling. So we landed at LAX. It was very late at night. I'm guessing it's midnight or something like that. And all the troops got off the plane, and everyone had their orders on to where they were headed home or to a base or wherever it may be. And myself and the three other pilots I were with were walking up the concourse of the airport. No civilians at all. The place was was empty. But we're walking up this concourse, and there's a bar up on the right. And the bartender was in the process of, the big iron grates that they have in airports.
Yeah, pulling them down.
He's in the process of pulling the grate down. He gets it to about here, and he looks up the concourse to the left, and he looks, and he sees, here's these four Marines coming down the concourse. He hesitates for a minute.
Open for business.
Threw that back up in a heartbeat. Threw that back up. Fellas, come on in. Anything you want, as much as you want, on the house.
Good.
Wow. What a welcome home. And he meant it. And we all, to be honest with you, we all probably had a little too much.
No.
Yeah, well, we kind of did.
You never have too much. You just can't hold it all.
I've always had a fondness for whiskey sours, and I don't know how many I had in that bar, but whatever it was one too many, and but obviously we thank this young fellow, profusely, and he wouldn't take anything. And we didn't have any U.S. All we had was script, military script, and he wouldn't take anything. So. I had to catch my flight back to Norfolk, Virginia. I had to get a flight from LAX to Chicago, and then from Chicago to Washington National, and from Washington National to Norfolk. And my wife Amanda and my wife Amanda knew. I called her about when to expect.
So she was alerted.
So came in late that night, and what an emotional meeting that was. Amanda and my 2-year-old daughter, Suzanne. When I flew out of Norfolk in December of 1965, Suzanne couldn't even walk yet. I was helping her. Yeah. She was holding on to my pinkies, and I was helping her walk around the airport in Norfolk. And my gosh, she had grown.
Did she remember you?
Oh no. But Amanda had done a lot to keep the memory alive with pictures and reading letters and everything like that. So the warmth of the greeting of the both of them was way beyond what I expected. And Suzanne reacted to me like I had never been gone.
That's great.
What a wonderful, beautiful. Welcome home. That was, and then of course, my in-laws and, there in Norfolk and the rest of my wife's family. That was a great reunion. And then a few days later, we went up to New Jersey to see my mom and dad, and then up to Connecticut to see my grandparents. And the welcome all along the way was awesome.
It counters some of the stuff that I've been told and heard. Yeah. Some of the guys are really treated rotten.
No, it was. I'll never forget that.
No, it's a good feeling.
It was a wonderful feeling. And in the airport, everyone else at LAX, and when I got to Chicago to change planes or to Washington National, it was very positive. Very positive.
Go ahead. I'm jumping ahead now.
No, go right ahead.
Have you ever gone on that honor flight?
No, I have not. I know a couple of my friends here from Bedford have done that.
Because I did, and it was a teary flight out.
Yes, I can imagine. No,
oh,
great
man.
Great thing to do. Speaking of the honor flight, if I could, I would like to comment on the Vietnam Memorial.
Be my guest.
And it was a few years, I don't remember when that first went up, but I'll never forget the first time I went to it. And I went with my brother. You know, both veterans, both aviators. Art at the time was still on active duty, and that was a very, very emotional experience to go to the wall. And they have a book at either end where you can look up the names. And I had some good friends from OCS, from flight school, and from the battalion and from the squadron who had been killed. And to go to that book and then go to the wall and, you know, put your hand on the wall on their name is a very, very emotional experience.
Oh yeah,
very emotional experience. So that's a great memory. Sad memory, but a great memory.
It's well, it's where you live.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Now, all this time, you, when you were through, what have you done following your service as far as civilian life? No, good question. Obviously, the answer is yes, but was your military experience a positive or negative impact upon your life and how you've lived it?
Oh, it was a huge positive experience. Because from my military experience, I went on to graduate school at Northwestern University.
GI Bill or out of pocket?
No, GI Bill. Yeah, the veterans benefits helped me get my MBA, and that was great. And so my whole career has been in marketing and sales management. And the organizational experience, the planning experience, the leadership experience, the disciplines that come from all that time in the military paid huge dividends everywhere. And to this day, because now I'm, you know, a state representative serving my third term in the New Hampshire House of Representatives, and to this day, all that experience helps. Yeah. I've got another story to tell you if we have time for another story.
You've got 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay. I came back from Vietnam, and I've spent a few months back in Beaufort as a training officer with their group down there. So now I'm out looking for a civilian job. I had the benefit, Bob, of being able to fly myself to my own interviews. I had a headhunter in Washington who was arranging interviews for me in different places around the country. So I would take an A4 from the group and fly to the nearest Air Force or Navy base to get to that interview. And as a result, when I walked into the interview, you know, one of the first questions you would get is, well, how was your trip here? Or how was your flight in? And I said, well, it was good. I was up at about 37,000 feet, and there was a little turbulence up there. And so, oh, wait a minute, time out. And so I would explain to them that I flew myself in. And very, very unusual.
Oh, yeah.
So virtually every interview, we spent, you know, the vast majority of the time talking about my military experience and my flying experience and how I got to this particular, you know, corporate headquarters. So it was a lot of fun. They wanted to hear a lot of stories, you know, the people who I was.
It's you. It's what makes up your history.
I didn't have any problem with job offers, I'll tell you that.
Well, good. So, I don't think you ever would. Remember, I said you looked like Paul Newman to begin with, so I was going to stop by some lemonade or something from you.
No.
How's your family react to this in time? Have you been able to keep the kids, your grandkids, appraised of what was going on? Have they ever asked you?
Oh yes, the grandchildren particularly have been very interested in and asked me to tell stories from you know, from time to time. And I have 4 daughters. Amanda and I had three more daughters: Elizabeth, Caroline, and Catherine. After I came back, so four girls. So they would ask me questions as well. But today I seem to get more questions from the grandchildren. I'm always happy to share that with them and let them know that it was a very, you know, positive chapter in my life. Yeah.
Good.
It was good.
One last question, if you will. I'm not recruiting folks, but some of the young kids coming up today, particularly where the economy is, Would you recommend that if they still don't know what they really want to do or can do, to carefully look into what the different service branches offer in the way of educational opportunities and treatment?
Oh, you won't recruit, I'll recruit.
Okay, I just open the door.
I have no hesitancy in doing that, and I would say to the viewers out there to take a good, strong look at the Marine Corps, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard.
And the Seabees.
And the Seabees are the Navy, you know.
Ding how.
But there are a lot of wonderful opportunities out there. It's a great way to, to get yourself started. It's a great way to learn a skill or a profession. It's a great way to mature yourself. And as the doors that it opens to have that experience is incredible. It's a very, very positive thing to do. And you can do that obviously out of high school, or you can do that in college through the ROTC program, or go to officer candidate school after college, or apply to one of the service academies. Make contact through your school principals or so on to one of the academies. Great way to go. I don't know how many times I've run into a young man somewhere in a grocery store or at a car wash, and we've gotten into a conversation, and you can tell that they're struggling about what
that's why I bring it up.
What to do next, and they're not really satisfied with their current position. And I'll suggest to them, have you considered
2 good years?
Have you considered the military? And take a look at it. Take a look at it, and go down and look at all that. Now, as you and I well know, there's some risk associated with it, because you are out there defending your country. But I'm a big believer in serving your country. That's one of the reasons I went in the first place. We're here to serve. We're here to serve our nation. That's one of the reasons I ran for the New Hampshire House 7 years ago. I'm always looking for an opportunity to serve my community, my state, my country. And so I would very, very strongly encourage that.
Amen.
Yep.
And I'm going to ask you one favor
on
camera without embarrassing you.
Okay.
Has this been a harrowing experience, this interview?
The interview?
Yeah.
I've loved it.
Okay, I'm trying to get other people to come and join us.
I would encourage anyone else who is watching this to contact you. You're a wonderful guy to work with. First class interviewer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and thank you so very, very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
That's a wrap, folks. And again, as we say, remember this: 211 if you need help. We need your help. Guys and gals, don't be bashful. We'll do all we can to make this a positive experience, and it'll help build a legacy for you to leave your families when you're not around. Okay? Bob Stevens again saying thank you. Stay healthy. Come and see us.